Hey, welcome live viewers and current live viewers and replay viewers. All right, today is Saturday, my last full day here in California, and I got another trip to make. I got to pick up my rental in less than an hour, and then head out to Modesto, deal with the client, and then I think that's it. I think that's going to be it. I'm not sure. Man, we may stop by and take care of something else, but we might go to my brother's girlfriend's house, and stay there for the evening or for the afternoon a little bit, and then head on home. I hope we come back this way because gotta finish up cleaning up, getting ready for the next day, whatever. So anyway, I got an interesting. I just saw this on internet, YouTube. When did this happen? Was this like last year or Thursday Night Football? Maybe, not sure. So I'm gonna take a peek at this and see what's going on.
It got Tate on that release. Got a lot of room to cover, and he gets hit hard on the perimeter by Jalen Ramsey. I believe there was a little extra in that Ramsey tackle.
Jalen Ramsey, I mean, you're just going to not only tackle, but you defeated the block of Dion Lewis. And then look at this. I mean, you want to talk about same foot, same shoulder, drive through the player. That's heads-up tackle. That's what you teach your kids.
Another one big thing, it felt like, for Joe Judge. Things getting a little chippy in the middle of the field again. That's how it's been. Some fireworks here at the stadium in the post-game. It got a little rough in the middle of things.
A post-game?
That was the type of game it was. It was physical. It was chippy.
Whoa. Someone's getting jacked up.
Minutes. Ramsey and Tate. Swear to God, right out.
Someone got jacked up. So I don't know what happened there. Did somebody get jacked up?
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire,
I was just wondering what had happened there. That was weird. Take a look.
messages that forge brighter connections.
Morning. Let's see here. Twitch. Okay, let's take a look at this. See where I'm at here. Let me go back. So much crap.
Ella, a 9-year-old mixed-race girl.
No, I don't want to hear that. Oh, wow.
75 miles east of Lake Charles is the city of Lafayette, Louisiana. CBS's morning lead national correspondent David Begnaud is there to report on the hurricane's effects. David, good morning to you.
Jeff, good morning to you. Welcome to my hometown, Lafayette. When we arrived here last night, one of the first things we noticed was this tree blocking this road, which is a main access point to the largest hospital in the city, Lafayette General Medical Center. The lights are on because the hospital still has power. They are on backup power. But much like what Maria is seeing about 60 miles to the west of here, most of Lafayette is without power this morning. Let me tell you about our journey to get here. We left Jennings, Louisiana last night. So from where Maria is, we were about 30 miles to the east in Jennings. They took a direct hit from the storm. The eye passed right over us. Wind gusts were close to 100 miles per hour. There are reports of 4 to 5 homes which have trees that fell into them. There were no reports of major injuries or deaths. The police chief, by the way, pulled his cops off the road for most of the night, telling people we're not going to be able to check on you until Saturday morning. As we left Jennings and headed east toward Lake Charles, toward Lafayette, most of Interstate 10 was open. There was flooding on the sides, but nothing blocking the roadway. But when we got into the hub city, which is how Lafayette is known, I mean, I'm telling you, there are trees all over the place. No reports of major injuries or deaths here, but it is going to be a massive cleanup effort today and into next week. Before I toss back to you, a bit of a public service announcement here. Do you know that most of the deaths reported from Hurricane Laura 6 weeks ago were due to carbon monoxide poisoning? People who didn't die because trees fell on them, but because they were poisoned, them and their animals. So for the hundreds of thousands of people affected by this storm now, Delta, please keep your generators at least 20 feet away from where you are. It's a lifesaver. Jeff Beck.
Yeah, that's a great point, David Begnaud. Thank you very much.
I've been on Noom for 4 months. I've lost 27 pounds, and I feel like I got my life back.
I've been on Noom for 4 months, and I've lost 16 pounds.
Holy cow! See what the next thing.
That is a giant white shark being taken in off the coast of Nova Scotia. She's been nicknamed Negumi, Queen of the Ocean. Negumi was tagged and released by OSearch, the research and exploring team led by Chris Fisher, who we've been following for years. They hope their latest trip provides new clues on sharks, who have made a huge comeback in parts of the world, though the mystery of the great white has not yet been fully solved.
When you see these big females like that have scars from decades over their lives and multiple mating cycles, you can really kind of see the story of their life unfolding across all the blotches and healed wounds on their body. And it really hits you differently than you would think it was.
Negumi is one of the largest great white sharks anyone's ever seen. 50 years old, 3,500 pounds. The crowning achievement, a month-long trip off Nova Scotia for the team at OSearch.
We're getting pushed around all the time. The wind's constantly changing.
After running from storms for 21 days in the middle of this unprecedented Atlantic hurricane season, OSearch was able to sample and release a total of 8 white sharks on this latest trip, including Negumi, so-called Queen of the Ocean.
What are you hoping she tells you in the years to come?
Well, she has a great opportunity of showing us where the Atlantic Canada white shark gives birth.
That is their ultimate goal, something that has never been witnessed, along with so much else about white sharks.
If they thrive, the system thrives. If we understand their lives, we can help them thrive. If we lose our white sharks, there's no food for our grandkids. The seals wipe out our fish stocks, the squid wipe out our fish stocks, and the white shark is the balance keeper. And the path to abundance goes through them.
OSearch says their satellite tags, which allow researchers to track the sharks for 5 years, are a key to unlocking it all. Tagging involves first hooking the shark with a smaller boat, then gliding it into a large lift, part of a crabbing vessel, as we first saw in the waters off Cape Cod 8 years ago.
Now that the shark is on the lift, this is when the scientists do their work.
OSearch tries to keep the sharks out of the water for less than 15 minutes, during which they're sustained by a rush of seawater.
Secondary, watch yourself, move!
While blood samples are taken.
4 minutes, 20 seconds.
And the tag is put into its dorsal fin.
which Osearch says doesn't cause pain because no blood or nerves connect to the fin.
Okay, tag's done.
From the first time we were on the ship with you in 2012, what have we learned?
We knew almost nothing about what the white sharks were doing in the North Atlantic,
Oh,
other than
man,
some
this
of
is
them
cool.
were showing up in the Cape Cod region in the late summer and fall. We started to put the tags out there, and the first thing we did was to find the full range of the North Atlantic white shark. We now know that they're moving from Atlantic Canada and Newfoundland all the way down the eastern seaboard and through and into the Gulf of Mexico, as far west as the Mississippi River.
Your methods have been criticized as being too invasive. Why do you stick with them?
Because that's not what the data says. When you look at the blood data and the stress data, it doesn't indicate that. When you look at the ultrasounds of the animals when they're in the cradle, it doesn't indicate that. So I think that comes from, the fact that what we're doing is orders of magnitude greater than anything that has been done in the white shark space in history. We're studying the biology of the white shark, getting a complete picture of that, as well as the ecology of the white shark at the same time, with 21 research projects by 31 principal investigators from all these different research institutions around Canada and the United States.
Are they out there right now?
Yes, they're there.
Fisher talked with us this week on the coast of Long Island, another place that's seen an increasing number of white sharks in recent years.
They're around you everywhere you go when you're on the water. We've been swimming with them our whole lives. The one thing that's changed since the beginning of our work is that we know that. Yeah, Finley, looking good, old girl.
Finding out exactly where they live and move is not only a key to keeping people safe, it's critical for conservation efforts, not just here, across the planet. Sharks are in much better shape than they were just a couple decades ago. Is there reason for concern moving forward beyond this?
Well, sharks are in much better shape than they were decades ago in the United States of America. But when you leave the United States and they lack management and there is no enforcement, it is still a super big challenge, which then affects the global ecosystem.
No, that was over
the
here, and
ocean
I
in
saw the
very, very
case,
negative ways.
so I figured I'd just leave it with the case because I don't know where the case came from.
Places or not.
Oh,
Where's
okay.
to next for you? Where do you think the worst situation is?
Well, we're looking at several places, but
Figure
one
it
of the
out.
places we hope that we could maybe make a real difference is in the Mediterranean. It's just been over-harvested since the beginning of mankind. It's had people around it since the beginning trying to survive and eat, and so it's taken the brunt of our growth as humans.
How do you turn that back around?
Try to get the white sharks moving in the right direction, start creating awareness, and hope that impacts the fish stocks, the marine mammal stocks, and slowly you're talking about, we turned it around the United States in 20 years. I think there you're looking at more like you got to have a 100-year vision.
Wow, 100 years.
100-year vision, because things are so bad in the Mediterranean when it comes to sharks right now. But it is just, it's awe-inspiring to stand next to one of these white sharks on that lift, glide your hand.
I'd rather do it there than in the water. You couldn't resist. You just couldn't resist.
Well, we spent time with Jeannie a few years back. I wasn't
Good
able
morning,
to
good
see
morning. Please comment.
Nagumi
Say hi,
in
so I know who
person,
you
but now
are.
we can track her on the website for the next 5 years or so. And they're planning to go. So there's talk about going to the Mediterranean and then also spend some time maybe off the Carolinas next summer to try to find out more about where they breed and where they give birth.
It's great work, and it's every time we do a story like this, it's the reminder it's all interconnected.
It's not about us,
and
man.
that's the thing people have to keep in mind.
Top of the food chain, that goes away. Everything else does too.
All right. Well, that was interesting.
75 miles.
What there was a storm, and didn't have anything about Eddie Van Halen.
Now, I've been using Manscaped lawnmower for about a year and a half. The #1 trimmer for shaving your pubes. The lawnmower.
Eddie Van Halen's death came as a shock to the world on October 6th, 2020. Often credited as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, Van Halen and his brother Alex Van Halen formed the band that would share their name in 1972. Eddie's playing became one of the defining sounds of the late 1970s and 1980s, with the band featuring heavily on MTV and ushering a wave of big hair and hard rock to the forefront of pop music. News of Eddie Van Halen's death broke on social media when his son Wolfgang Van Halen tweeted that his father, quote, lost his long and arduous battle with cancer. As the world comes to grips with the loss of a music industry titan, people are looking back on what Eddie Van Halen left behind, including a touching final post on social media. Though Eddie Van Halen was not a particularly active social media user, he did take to Instagram and Twitter every once in a while to share good news and life updates, mostly posting about his family. Eddie's final post on both platforms was not about himself, but actually went out to his brother and bandmate Alex Van Halen, wishing him a happy birthday on May 8th, 2020. It's fitting that Eddie's final message was to his brother, as the two spent their entire lives making music together, playing to sold-out audiences around the world for nearly 5 decades. The brothers were both born in Amsterdam and moved to California as children, where they learned guitar and drums at the prompting of their father, who was a professional musician himself. And the band Van Halen remained a family affair right to the end, with Eddie's son Wolfgang joining the group in 2006 on bass while still a teenager.
He had rhythm in a way. Yes, God, thank you. He's got rhythm.
Fittingly, just as Eddie's last social media posts were a shout-out to his brother, his next-to-last Instagram message was to his son. On March 16, 2020, Eddie shared a baby picture of Wolfgang with warm wishes for his birthday. He captioned the photo, "The best day of my life. Happy birthday, Wolf. I love you so much. Your Pop." And this birthday message for his son wasn't just a one-time deal. Eddie made sure to take to social media year after year to guarantee the whole world knew how much he loved his son. The father and son duo were very close, making Wolfgang's message about his father's death on social media that much sadder. Wolfgang wrote in part, "He was the best father I could ever ask for. Every moment I've shared with him on and off stage was a gift. My heart is broken, and I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this loss." There was one other member of his family that Eddie Van Halen regularly posted about on social media, his beloved dog, Cody. Eddie's tiny Pomeranian was clearly the musician's furry pride and joy. Eddie had the pup for over a decade and shared a few snippets of his life in luxury, complete with cute memes. Cody was on hand to help his dad barbecue some hot dogs on the 4th of July in 2017 and stick his nose up at a Thanksgiving meal that was decidedly not turkey. Cody even had his own Facebook page with more than 11,000 followers. Cody's family frequently shares photos at home and funny anecdotes about life, keeping things light and fun despite the health struggles Eddie endured for the past several years. In between Instagram pictures of Cody, Eddie managed to keep his social media posts upbeat and positive, spreading nothing but love around to his friends, family, and fans. His positive attitude and bright outlook on life, not to mention his immense impact on the music industry, will be greatly missed.
Sweet. Well, that was cool. That was neat. What time do we have? I got another half hour. What do we got here? What's the other word? What's happened? What's making the news? Yeah, let's take a look at this one.
Have a seat. Well, hi, everybody. That was a nice little opening. Is this thing on?
Strange framing
Well,
of the
I
video.
first met Eddie in 2009, and it was when I interviewed him for CNN. It was at his 5150 studio, and he was rolling out a new guitar for his EVH line with Fender. And I have to say that you guys are really in for a treat tonight. You're going to get a chance to hear his story and also find out a little bit of what makes him tick. And at the end of the night, I'm sure you're going to want him to be your best friend. Maybe not. Well, this is a nice intimate crowd. You're usually used to arenas.
It's about as far as you can see in an arena.
Well, let's head into the program. The theme of tonight is rock and roll and reinvention, coupled with what it's like to be an American. And this is kind of your story, truly.
Yeah, I'd have to say so. Let me start off by saying that my father was a professional musician. classically trained on clarinet and saxophone, and he traveled the world making music, and he met my mother in Indonesia. And after the war, Indonesia used to be a Dutch province, and after the war, they had a choice to either remain under their rule or move back to Holland, and they opted to move back to Holland, where life became a little rough because my mom became a second-class citizen because she was Indonesian. So here she is stuck at home with two rugrats, Alex and I, and my father's out trying to get gigs, which kept him from home for weeks at a time. Eventually, with the big band era and everything coming kind of to a close, in order to make money to have any kind of gig at all, he joined the Air Force in Holland to pay the rent. And somewhere along the line, when he turned 42, he said to my mom, "Let's pack up the kids and the piano and move to Beverly." Except it wasn't Beverly Hills, that is. We came to America on a boat, 9 days on the boat, and he performed on the boat with the band, and that was our ticket over here. And one day he comes up to Alex and I, and he goes, "Why did you guys play piano during the intermission?" So we ended up performing also on the boat, which showed us the quirks of being a performer, or the pluses of it, because the next night we're at the captain's table eating dinner. So we found out at an early age, what being on stage meant, to a certain extent. But anyway, so when we finally arrived in Pasadena, California,
welcome.
It was rough. My
Please
father,
comment.
Classically trained
Say
musician,
hi.
had to walk 3 miles to go wash dishes. He was a janitor at Masonic Temple and Pacific Telephone. My mom was a maid. And there was always a common thread of music in our family ever since we were young in Holland. There was somewhere my mom had a sense that we were going to follow in my father's footsteps, and knowing that in the back of her head, she insisted that we start being classically trained on piano already in Holland. That's why we brought the piano with us. But anyway, so we come to America, and my mom being a maid, and my dad, and the thing just got out.
It's back.
And he didn't know any other musicians really. And, Musicians Union was there, but they weren't of much help at the time. But slowly he started meeting other musicians, also, immigrants. And he started gigging on the weekends because being a janitor and a maid and all that stuff, it didn't pay the rent. And we lived in one room, and we slept in one bed in a house with 2 other families. So It was rough going. So the only thing, again, what saved us was my dad gigging on the weekends, making music. As we grew a little bit older, Alex started playing drums with my dad.
Hi, Ophelia.
And I'll never forget, he used to have to,
Morning.
because he had long hair, he had to take a whole jar of Vaseline and what was that stuff called? Vitalis?
Oh my gosh.
Slick his hair back,
Yeah.
It took him days to get it out. But, and then eventually I ended up playing bass with them. And,
Oh, wow.
and I didn't know my from home around these funny songs. Like we're playing oompa music, everything from oompa music to waltzes to weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it. And Al would yell to me which chord to play. He's going 1, 4, 5. No, you fucked it up. But
does he still do that?
Bleep that out. I don't listen anymore. No.
It's okay.
Anyway, so
I get it.
Music was just a common thread throughout
Welcome.
our lives.
Thanks for showing up, Ashley. I appreciate
born
it.
in Holland. Music in the house. We used to stomp around the living room table.
I'm just going around checking out some
Hands.
YouTube videos. This is my third one this morning.
You know, marching around to listening to big band and marching music, and we always liked things loud. Everything had to be loud, you know.
Wow.
But as we got older, we continued to take piano lessons, and my mom had put us in these contests, these annual contests. So you practice one piece of music all year long, and I'm going way off the subject here.
All the way from Amsterdam.
Anyway,
family moved after the war.
You practice one piece of music all year, and the funny thing is, I never learned how to read music, and I fooled the teacher. I was just blessed with good ears. I'd watch his fingers and
checking YouTube videos this morning.
You know,
just chilling out, watching videos.
I couldn't read. He actually found out one time when he was playing a new piece of music, and he asked me to turn the page for him, and I'm sitting going. He goes, "What's the matter? You're supposed to turn the page." I'm going, "What? I can't read." He's going, "What?" You know, this was after like 5 years of lessons with the guy, and he finally found out.
Wow, it's amazing.
But the funny thing is, okay, these piano contests.
This is amazing.
You're not even allowed to read. Okay, you can't use sheet music, so it was actually a blessing in disguise for me to not be able to read. I could not look up and do things at the same time. I had to see what my fingers were doing.
Exactly. I had the same problem.
But these piano contests, actually, both Alex and I won 3 years in a row. I think I won first prize 3 years in a row.
Wow.
And Al won first prize, second prize, or whatever. But we always won. And it's kind of like in phases where you go in and you play, and then you wait an hour to see if your name gets whittled down. I had no idea. It was like 5,000 kids.
Is the video too loud, folks? Don't tell me if the video is too loud over my voice.
And then we'll go down to 100 people.
I don't know the difference between my voice and the video voice.
Alex and I are both
audio and video.
Let's just go home. We're not going to make it, you know. And my dad was always one who said, "No, wait, check it out." And well, there it was. We were in the top 5, and then we ended up winning, which was great. But that was the piano phase. So that was 9, 10, 11 years old that I did those contests. And then we discovered the Beatles and Dave Clark 5. And of course, like any kid, we wanted to rock and roll. And I quit piano lessons and the contest circuit, so to speak, and said, I want to get myself a drum kit because I like song Glad All Over, boom, 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 by Dave Clark 5. And I wanted to play drums. So I got a paper out, bought a St. George drum kit for $125. And my mom somehow had convinced my brother to still do something musically respectable, which was take flamenco guitar lessons. Now, forgive me if my memory or recollection is different from yours, Hal. But all I remember is me going out and throwing the papers and coming home, and he's playing my drums. And I'm going, okay, it PO'd me a bit in the beginning, and then finally I just said, okay, he's just better than I am. So I never wanted to play guitar, but I said, okay, go ahead, take my drums, I'll play your damn guitar. The funny thing is, when I watched Alex play, you probably say the exact opposite or the same thing, except to me, and that is that to watch Al play drums was like, he wasn't just keeping time, he was making music on the drums. It just came so natural to him, whereas he'll probably say the guitar was just so easy for me. And we're both right. We ended up on the it was destiny.
It does seem like the universe has a way of shaking out the way it's supposed to, doesn't it? Now, you didn't take formal guitar lessons in the same way that you took piano lessons.
No. I just instead of reading a book, I wrote my own, so to speak. I'd say that 90% of the things that I do on guitar, if I had taken lessons and learned by the book, I would not play it all the way I do. As a matter of fact, because of the things that I created technique-wise and whatever the way I play, they had to reinvent a whole new way to write music.
Oh, wow.
Because they could not explain with regular notes what I was doing with this hand. So they had to create a whole new thing called tablature.
With symbols and things?
Yeah, with symbols and
Oh,
numbers.
tablature.
And where and blah, blah, blah. And the funny thing is, I can't read music. Now they come up with a new way to write it. And I can't make sense out of that at all. So I don't have a clue if it's right or wrong.
Well, can we flash back all the way to 1978?
That's
when
amazing.
Van
This
Halen's
is
self-titled debut
kind
album
of an eye
hit the
opener.
stores. And it really kind of turned the music industry on its head. Do you guys agree?
It's an
There
eye
were
opener
sounds that he
because
was making with his
some of
guitar
the things
that
he's
nobody had
mentioned,
ever
I
heard
ran
before.
across too playing. I just,
The sounds on that record.
it sounds
were
familiar
A
to
lot of
me.
years of experimentation.
I just don't play as much as he
tearing
does.
apart guitars
Obviously,
and
and
opening up amplifiers.
damn
getting
sure ain't as good as he
electrocuted,
is.
thrown across the
But it's
you know,
amazing he's talking as if
kicked around.
exactly what
And
other people have gone through. So that's pretty cool.
it was a lot
You
of.
just don't think
by
of
the time
stuff
the
like
first
that.
record came
But
out, we had
he had no
worked so
lesson,
hard
no
to make that
former
record,
lessons.
to get to that
It's
point. Don't
amazing.
forget, we, being a rock and roll band in 1977, 78, it's kind of what it's like today, except back then it was punk and disco. That was, you know.
Yeah, I play
dominating
guitar.
charts. There's no rock and
I
roll
stopped
there.
playing a couple years back. I just didn't have time.
So for us to succeed in that,
And so I want to get back to it just a little bit. At least
of that.
remember how to play it, but
Anyway, but the
listening to
sounds,
him is just amazing.
let me start by saying I was never happy. I guess what drives me to tear things apart is some of it is necessity and some of it is
See,
just
'cause
experimenting, because I'm always pushing
it's hard for him to
things past
explain
where they're supposed to
to
be.
people what he
hate to
does
bring
and
up
why he does it
Spinal
and
Tap, but you know,
how he does it.
but
It's the same way I
you know, while
explain
they're
it.
going
It's,
to
I don't
11
know, just
at
play,
the
you know.
time, I was already going to 15.
But
You
he's,
know, I was
I'm not
already
that
way
good.
past
I
that.
can play, but
But so anyway, what I really loved about a Fender guitar was the vibrato bar. Except they only came with single coil pickups, which at high volume they squeal and they're very thin sounding, unless you use some kind of distortion pedal or whatever, which I could not afford, you know. And there's the other company,
sorry.
Gibson, that made a Les
It's okay,
Paul.
I understand.
Les Paul was a dear friend of mine also, which made humbucking pickups, which were similar to these. They canceled the hum and it has a much fatter sound. So I proceeded to find a company that made knockoff bodies and necks of Fenders, a company called Boogie Bodies. And I went out there and said, how much for a body? He goes, oh, you don't want one of those. I go, why not? The guy goes, they're seconds. I'm going, I thought he meant those are next to be made. No, what he meant was those are junk. We can't sell those because they have knots and you know, they're damaged. I said, great, I'll take one. So I bought a $50 body and $75 neck, and I proceeded to take a chisel and a hammer and make a hole big enough for a Gibson pickup to put in there. And of course, that pickup had to come out of a guitar somewhere. So I ruined that guitar by ripping the pickup out, but I knew I was on to something. So I screwed the pickup straight into the wood, and a Stratocaster actually has 3 pickups. And so I routed out the body and crammed the humbucking pickup. And mind you, everything was unsoldered and just laying there. It had 3 knobs and 2 pickups over here. And I had 1 pickup that I wanted in there. And I go, okay, now how am I going to hook this back up? I had no clue how to hook it back up. So I wondered if it would work if I just hooked the humbucking pickup straight up to 1 knob. And it worked. So I just ripped everything out, threw it away, and made my own pick guard to cover the holes, and that's what ended up being that guitar.
With all your experimentation, was there ever anything that didn't work? Like, do you have a whole graveyard full of instruments that?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, many. I've destroyed many actual vintage guitars, taking just choice pieces out that I wanted for this and that. But so then finally, okay, then I had the guitar built, and I guess one of the most often asked questions is what prompted the paint job. That I have no answer for, except that I'm sitting there with a blank piece of wood with a guitar that sounded great, did everything I wanted, and I painted it black. And I'm going, this looks kind of boring. And there's some tape laying there, and I just started taping it up, take a razor blade, and just cut pieces out, and spray painted it white, and then took it all off. And I'm going, this is kind of cool. And it was really as simple as that. There was no, I have to make a piece of art, you know, even though it's interesting looking. And then later on, the red guitar is the same guitar as the white one. I taped over it again and spray painted it red. But
and that led to a lot of people kind of copying, you know, the graphic design.
It became standard in the industry. All of a sudden, everybody was making a humbucking in a Strat style body. But there's so many other things that I did, like potting the pickup, which, okay, if you get unwanted high squeal feedback, you know, like if you ever watch a public speaker and you get this real annoying, you know, I'm not talking about the good kind of feedback when you're playing. I'm talking about annoying high squeal. Now, I have no idea what prompted me to think this, but I was thinking, okay, coil windings, very thin copper wire around these plastic things with a magnet. And I'm going, maybe it's the little coil things vibrating. So I proceeded to empty one of my mom's U-Man coffee cans and went to the store and bought some paraffin wax and got a hot plate, and again proceeded to ruin many pickups because I forgot that the pickup bobbins, you know, the black and white part that you see there, that they're plastic. So, and I didn't know what temperature to dip them at. So I melted a lot of pickups, and then I figured, okay, I'll just hold on to it. As soon as I see an inkling of shrivel, I'm going to yank it out, and it worked.
And people still use that technique.
That became a standard in the business now too. Every company does that.
It's like all the stuff that comes out of your mad scientist brain.
Or is given to me from somewhere. I don't know. You know,
wow.
Say
I didn't know he's such a pioneer.
Fender was a conscious, you know, out of necessity, because there was no guitar on the market that did what I wanted. So that was a necessity. The paint job was not a necessity. Potting the pickup, I have no idea what made me think that. So then I had a guitar, and I used to work at a music store delivering pianos and organs. And one day a Marshall amp comes in, and I've only seen pictures of these things, you know, only Eric Clapton, gods play these, you know, not kids on the street. And I said, I gotta have that amp. So I worked all summer to buy that amp, and we were already too loud, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure your neighbors loved you.
Now I have a 100-watt Marshall that was so damn loud that I did everything from face it backwards to leave it face down, you name it. And then we'd be auditioning in clubs, and your guitarist is too psychedelic, too loud, and too much uncontrolled energy, and blah 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 blah. You know, all this stuff because I was just too damn loud. Okay. I saw an ad in the paper for another Marshall head, and I'm going, well, maybe this one will be different. Well, it certainly was, because when it showed up and I plugged it in, it didn't work. But I left it on. Okay. What I didn't realize was that this thing was from England, and it was 220 volts.
Oh.
So I plugged it into the wall, and it was set. I didn't bother to look in the back until later, but it was set on 220. So it took a long time for it to warm up at half voltage. And when I picked up my guitar, I'm going, it sounds incredible but incredibly quiet. It was so quiet, only my dog and I could hear it. And then it dawned on me. I'm going to think, wait a minute, the voltage. Okay, I can control the level of the amp output by voltage. So I proceeded to try to hook it onto the light dimmer at the house, and blew the power out, and so on and so on. So finally, I went to this place called Dow Radio in Pasadena on Colorado Boulevard, and asked, "Do you guys make any kind of industrial variable transformer, like a huge light dimmer, And yeah, they said, "Yeah, we got this thing called a Variac." And I said, "Okay, cool." So I take it home and I plug the amp head into it. So, and I would lower the voltage from 110 down slowly down to 100. And the lowest I ever really went was like 60. Depending on the size room you're playing, I'd set it anywhere between 60 and 100. And that became, because the only way the amp sounded good was with everything all the way up. And if it was running at 110 volts, it was just so damn loud, So that became my volume knob. Like when we used to play guitars, I'd have down to 60 volts. If we played somewhere a little bit bigger, I'd crank it to 80. And for recording, the sweet spot seemed to be 89 volts.
There seems to be, though, a recurring theme, and that you're always pushing. You always want to see what is beyond what everybody else is doing.
I'm not going to be able to get a chance to see all this. Yeah, I need to get going pretty soon. So I have to head out. Thanks for stopping by.
More is always better, right?
And I appreciate you guys. You guys take care.
Alex and I always had it.
Yeah, that's a good video.
It's all you can eat for $1.
Right,
Give me
I'm
$3
out.
worth.